And we're live here, Dr. J in the house. Today we are going to be chatting about histamine. Just did a nice podcast here with Evan Brand just a few minutes before this. So take a look at that podcast on the different YouTube platforms. That'll be out on the Apple podcast platform very soon. So histamine, what is it? It's actually made by the amino acid histidine, and it actually has a vasodilating effect. So when you're actually making histamine, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's really a problem when you have a lot of other issues going on. When you're chronically inflamed, that histamine is going to cause a lot of other symptoms when it's chronic, right? But histamine has effects on vasodilating, helps regulate sleep and memory. It actually can stimulate hydrochloric acid. But in a chronic state, when you don't have enough enzymes like HNMT, which is a histamine and methyltransferase, or diamine oxidase, DAO, that can impact your body's ability to break it down and to lower those histamine levels. Now, when you're in that chronic state, when these enzymes are low, what's causing that? Typically, anything that's going to drive chronic inflammation is going to impact it. So when you have gut permeability issues, when you have SIBO, general dysbiosis, H. pylori, bacterial imbalances, fungal issues, when you have really crummy digestion, low hydrochloric acid, low enzymes, that's going to impact your absorption and break down a lot of the key nutrients that are needed to actually make enzymes to break down histamine. So you need copper, you need vitamin C, you need B6. They play a really important cofactor to actually break down histamine. That's really big. And so there's also certain medications, right, that can actually impact histamine. So you have things like Pepsid AC or Zantac. These are your typical H2 blockers where if you're having a histamine reaction, those will typically be given. You have your general antihistamines, Allegra, Zyrtec, Benadryl, like they kind of make you tired or woozy, right? You have those. And then a lot of antidepressants and NSAIDs can also make you more histamine sensitive. Plaquenil, Humira, some of your blood pressure medications like propanolol. These are different medications that can really impact you. But again, if you're having a SIBO or bacterial overgrowth, there are definitely microbes that can significantly impact and actually stimulate histamine. So you can have things like Morganella and Klebsiella and Pseudomonas and Citrobacter and Proteus. They can actually stimulate and make histamine. Now, the question is, why do you have these microbes to begin with? You could have exposure to antibiotics in the past. You could have lots of low levels of beneficial bacteria like probiotics. Lactobacillus, bifidobacter, these Lactobacillus acidophilus, right? Plantarum. These are different beneficial bacteria. One, if you don't get it in your diet via fermented foods, or if you're just get a lot of, have a standard American diet, you're not getting fermented foods, or you're getting a lot of antimicrobials in your diet via Roundup, glyphosate, pesticides, antibiotics. Those can significantly impact bacteria as a whole. And then the weeds, right? The bad bacteria like the Morganella, the Klebsiella, the Pseudomonas, these can now cause the bugs to grow faster, right? You don't ever have to grow weeds, right? You have to grow the good stuff. You have to put the good stuff in there, but weeds and dysbiosis grow automatically. So it's really important that we be on top of that and get to the root on what's happening there. And so, outside of that, what are some common symptoms of histamine? You can feel nauseous. You can have vertigo issues, right? Dizziness. You can have difficulty falling asleep. You can have headaches, fatigue. You can just be really inflamed or swollen, right? Flushed. And again, the histamine, right? It's a vasodilator. During a natural response, you bump your elbow, it swells up. There's a histamine response that's happening there that's designed to help increase blood flow, get immune cells in there to decrease that inflammation. The problem when it's chronic and out of control, now we start to have a lot of histamine issues. Now, people may say, I'm going to go to my conventional MD and I'm going to get treated mast cell issues, right? I'm going to go on Enbrel or different medications, different antihistamine, whether it's H1, H2, or different experimental newer mast cell or histamine blockers. How is that getting to the root cause? There may be some palliative support needed. I get it, right? I try to look at everything from both sides. You may have so much histamine coming in, your system is so overwhelmed, those symptoms are taking control of your life. I get it. There may be some medications in there that may be necessary acutely while you go upstream and get to the root cause and anything happening. So you got to look at everything holistically, draw a line and say, what's palliative, just making me feel good in the moment, but not fixing anything, and what is actually getting to the root. Because if you draw that line and you see a whole bunch of stuff over here, and then your doctor just says, well, it's a genetic issue, you can't do anything, so he's definitely keeping you on this side of the line, you got a problem. And the problem is most doctors will keep you on that side, not go to the other side unless they have training in functional medicine. So it's really important. So we mentioned some of the symptoms. It's really important. We talked about DAO and the enzymes. Food histamine could also be a good histamine component in that histamine bucket that we can reduce and pull out. So obviously fermented foods, even though they're really healthy, probiotics, kimchi, low sugar kombucha, pickles, right? Think of your good, healthy fermented foods, coconut kefir, they could have histamine from the fermentation process that it takes to build those probiotics back up. Could also be aged meats, could be citrus foods, right? Tomatoes, nuts, seeds, these could be problematic. And so you may have to reduce these for a time because you're just trying to take histamines out of your histamine bucket. You may want to work on stomach acid, right? Because a lot of people that have low histamine, even though histamine can stimulate hydrochloric acid in a chronic state, most people are going to have poor digestion because the bacteria imbalances are actually going to tend to lower stomach acid over time. You're just not going to have as good digestion. So you got to really look at things holistically and get to the root cause. You want to work with a functional medicine doctor that's saying, hey, why do you have these symptoms? Let's look at upstream at the different systems, whether it's gut, immune, digestive. There may be some tests to even look at your histamine levels. You can run an N-methyl transferase test. You can run a serum histamine. That's okay to just kind of get like a baseline of where you're at, but it's not going to tell you what to do next. So you always have to look at that, and it just gives you a baseline. And you may even find that that looks okay too. Who knows? So it's good to look at that. And so you want to have some testing done. I really want to look upstream and look at the guts, look at digestion, look at stress, look at sleep, because we know histamine can impact sleep. I want to look at your hormones. I want to look at nutrient deficiencies. I want to look at the root cause on what is happening and see what we can do, because we want to have that root cause top-down approach, top-down, inside-out approach. Let me kind of hit a couple questions here, guys. Oh, and if you want to reach out to myself, again, I'm available, justinhealth.com. I see patients. My staff helps patients out. We see patients all over the world with these issues. Histamines are a common issue that kind of stacks into a whole bunch of other issues, whether it's gut, hormone, mood. And if you have hormone imbalances, if you have gut issues, they can definitely exacerbate and increase more of the histamine symptoms. So if you want to reach out, we'll put that link down below to get my coordinates there. Couple questions here. We'll dive in. What's your take on a low histamine diet? It doesn't seem to be sustainable in the long term. So if you think of this as your inflammation bucket or your histamine bucket. You have a lot of things in there, right? When whatever these, we'll call them antigens or foreign proteins, foreign matter, right? These stressors. When these stressors overflow out of that bucket, that's where symptoms start. So the easiest first approach is let's just take it's like if you have a big thing of water, right? And it's like at the very top of the glass and I'm walking with it, it could spill. But if I just maybe pull a little bit of stuff out and get it down to here, now I can walk around with it and not have it spill as easy. So that's what it's like doing. It's trying to take some of those inflammatory antigens out of the bucket. So now it's less likely to spill. So you pull out some of the foods. I wouldn't just focus on histamine foods. I would also focus on getting an anti-inflammatory, nutrient-dense, kind of low inflammation, low toxin diet. Because if the food looks good, but it's loaded with pesticides or Roundup, that's a problem. Or if it's not just nutrient dense, like grass-fed beef, good quality, keep it fresh, right? Stay away from the aged meats. I want some good, healthy vegetables. I'm going to choose lower histamine. I'm going to avoid the fermentable foods, the probiotics. In the meantime, that's going to help lower that histamine in the bucket. And then I can work on targeting other root causes, get the gut fixed, and then over time start to add some of these foods back in and see how we do. And we may even do things like add in some natural antihistamine degranulators, right? We may add in quercetin or stinging nettle or ginger or bromelain, right? These can be excellent things. What else? Quercetin, NAC, bromelain, stinging nettle, vitamin C. These can all be really good things out of the gate. I mentioned a bunch of symptoms. Also, urticaria or hives, that's definitely going to be in there as well. Are you a fan of taking beef, kidney, liver pills to help with histamine? So in the kidney pills, what are you getting? You're getting that DAO enzyme, which is going to help break down histamine. Now, DAO, again, you're making it with B6. You're making it with vitamin C. You're also making it with copper. So we want to make sure we fix your digestion. We get the nutrients in there so you can make it yourself. But it can definitely help, right? It can definitely help to lower some of that load. I want to have you on kind of more of an anti-inflammatory diet. We want to decrease the microbes that are making a lot of the histamines, right? We want to get all those in check. We want to get to the root. Because if we can get that N-methyl transferase up, if we can get the DAO up naturally, maybe we add a little bit too as well. Now that starts to make a big difference in regards to the patient clinically feeling better. Always want to get to the root cause. Pineapple, yeah, I mean, there's bromelain in pineapple, and bromelain's very anti-inflammatory. It's a good enzyme. There's some sugar in there, so you just got to factor in how sugar sensitive you are, and do you get bloated or gassy with the sugar from the pineapple? I'm okay trying it though. I think pineapple's a good food as long as you're not overly sugar sensitive. All right, guys, hope today helped. We had a longer podcast. Again, take a look at that. That'll be live soon. We'll put it kind of maybe down below as a suggested link. Take a peek at it. Any other questions, put it in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with family and friends. Really, that's how we get the word out here. And if you want to dive in and reach out to someone like myself, we can roll up the sleeves, get to the root cause. We'll put the link down below as well. And again, don't get caught up on diagnostic stuff. I see a lot of patients are like, oh, I have mast cell this and histamine that. It's like, okay, but what's the root cause, right? Because that diagnosis is just going to put you on a bunch of medication to try to lower the histamine, control the symptoms, and it's not going to go upstream. Now, it's okay if you want to use some medications, just have that list. What's palliative? What's just helping me feel better in the moment? And what's getting me to the root cause? As long as you look at it from both sides, I'm okay with it. You just want to have that good long-term mindset that you're ticking the boxes that show you're going upstream and getting to the root cause. All right, guys, happy to chat with y'all today. Have a phenomenal day and continue to take control of your health. Bye, y'all.